You know his name, but not the numbers, not the whispers passed through bloodlines, not the women whose names were lost, but whose children still walk the earth. This is not a history lesson. This is genetic legacy carved into time. This is the secret of how one man fathered a dynasty that never ended. Genghis Khan, born as Temujin in 1162, wasn't just a brutal conqueror. He was a visionary leader who united warring tribes under a single empire. But beyond the battlefield, Genghis built a legacy hidden deep within human DNA, a genetic shadow still alive today. In 2003, a groundbreaking study revealed a startling fact. Nearly 1 in every 200 men alive today share a Y chromosome traceable to Genghis Khan. That's over 16 million men worldwide, a biological empire. This wasn't random. Genghis Khan used marriage and reproduction as political weapons. He married daughters of defeated rulers, took hundreds of concubines, and rewarded generals with captured women to solidify loyalty. These unions weren't about love, they were about power. Marrying into royal lines meant absorbing rival kingdoms. It was strategic population control, a kind of genetic conquest that expanded his influence far beyond war. His sons and grandsons inherited this practice. Kublai Khan, for instance, had many wives and concubines, further spreading the Mongol genetic line across Asia and Europe through calculated political marriages. Genghis created a system of elite reproduction. Those closest to him were allowed more wives, more offspring, and more power. Genetics became currency, a way to cement control over generations. It wasn't just about numbers. The genetic legacy of Genghis Khan reveals how a single individual can shape the human genome. His DNA became a marker of dominance, reaching from Mongolia to Iran, Russia, and even parts of Eastern Europe. But there's a darker side. These reproductive conquests often came through violence. After sacking cities, Mongol soldiers took women as part of the spoils. Entire populations were reshaped through rape and forced unions. Historians estimate tens of thousands of women were taken during Mongol invasions. For the empire, this was control. For the victims, it was generational trauma encoded in bloodlines. This isn't just ancient history. Genetic studies today still trace the Y chromosome cluster linked to Genghis Khan, highlighting the enduring impact of imperial domination through reproduction. What's chilling is how efficient the system was. Genghis didn't just win wars, he built infrastructure to support reproduction, harems, policies, inheritance laws. It was administration of legacy at the genetic level. Some argue this is why his empire remained stable for so long. By tying military loyalty to reproductive privilege, Genghis created a hierarchy based on blood both metaphorically and literally. His elite guards, generals, and advisors were often tied to his family. This created a closed loop of power where ruling and reproducing became one and the same. It was a system designed to echo forever. But what about today? Do people really care if they're descended from Genghis Khan? Surprisingly, yes. In Mongolia and Central Asia, it's considered an honor to claim bloodline descent, even if scientifically, it's hard to prove personally. Some leaders and public figures in Asia have quietly referenced their supposed Genghis descent as a source of legitimacy. It's not just history, it's identity, pride, and sometimes propaganda. And outside Asia, the fascination continues. Western documentaries, genetic testing companies, and internet forums buzz with speculation. Genghis Khan has become the ultimate genetic celebrity. But how do we know all this? The 2003 study, led by Dr. Chris Tyler Smith, identified a Y chromosome haplotype shared by millions in a specific geographic corridor, tracing it back over 800 years to Mongolia. This wasn't just coincidence. The genetic signature followed the path of Mongol conquests, and no other male lineage in history shows this scale of dominance. It's important to understand what Y chromosomes represent. Passed from father to son, they're like historical fingerprints. If many people share a unique pattern, it means they share a common paternal ancestor. In this case, that ancestor wielded power not only through military might, but through his ability to rewrite future generations. So was Genghis Khan the most successful man in history? Biologically, probably yes. No other individual has left such a massive mark on the global gene pool. But success comes with questions. How much of this legacy was built on consent? How much was built on suffering? And how should we talk about a figure who was both a genius and a destroyer? Genghis Khan's story forces us to confront the intersection of empire and biology, of power and paternity, of violence and legacy. History isn't just written in books, it's written in us. DNA doesn't forget. It carries the echoes of conquest, the shadows of decisions made centuries ago. Every cell is a library, and some of us carry Genghis Khan on the shelves. The Mongol elite's obsession with lineage shaped their empire's laws. Bloodlines determined who could rule, who could marry, and who inherited land. It was statecraft built on sperm. Today, Genghis Khan is remembered differently around the world. In Mongolia, he's a national hero. In parts of Asia and Europe, he's a symbol of terror. And in genetics, he's a phenomenon. The paradox is striking. A man who caused so much destruction is also responsible for an enduring legacy. It's a reminder that impact isn't always positive, but it can be permanent. Historians continue to debate how many women Genghis Khan had. Some estimate hundreds. Others suggest thousands when considering concubines and war captives. The truth may be lost to time. But his intent was clear: reproduction as power. Children weren't just heirs, they were tools of diplomacy, anchors in foreign courts, and insurance for loyalty. Genghis Khan's daughters were also powerful. He used them in marriage alliances and installed them as rulers of key regions. Through them, he extended influence without direct conquest. One daughter, Alakai Beki, ruled her territory with an iron grip. She didn't just carry his blood, she carried his methods. Like her father, she ruled through fear, loyalty, and strategic unions. These family alliances created a web of influence stretching from Korea to Persia. Mongol blood became a political force, binding empires not through borders, but through breeding. And yet, most of this history is told from the male perspective. The women who bore Genghis Khan's children, many unwillingly, are nameless in records. Their stories are erased. That's why it's important to tell the whole truth. His legacy is both triumph and tragedy, a story of domination, but also of silenced voices that echo through generations. Modern genetics has opened a portal to the past. With every DNA test, we uncover connections once buried, and with that, a responsibility to face the darker side of heritage. The Y chromosome haplotype linked to Genghis Khan is a window into history, but it's also a reminder one man's ambition can echo through eternity. What if conquest was never just about land? What if it was always about legacy? Genghis Khan didn't just want an empire. He wanted immortality written into our genes. And in that he succeeded. Long after his empire crumbled, long after his name faded from maps, his DNA remains a living monument. So next time you take a DNA test and wonder about your origins, remember, history lives inside you, and for millions, it might carry the stamp of a Mongol emperor. In the end, the story of Genghis Khan is more than battles and borders. It's about how power reproduces itself, how legacy becomes lineage, and how history is literally in our blood. This is what makes his story timeless, because while most rulers vanish with time, Genghis Khan turned biology into biography. He used the most primal force, reproduction, to write his name into the future, not on monuments, but in cells, in fathers and sons, in bloodlines that don't even know they carry him. As scientists discover more genetic markers, Genghis Khan's shadow keeps growing. It turns out you don't need to be remembered to be repeated. That's the strange beauty and horror of his legacy. His name might be whispered in legends, but his body whispers through millions. Some wonder, can legacy be ethical if it's born of violence? It's a question every empire must face, especially when the empire lives on through DNA. Genghis Khan teaches us this: the past is never really past. It sleeps in our genes, waiting to be discovered, questioned, remembered, and for some it's a source of pride. For others, a ghost. Either way, it makes one thing clear: no man has ever fathered a legacy quite like this. Through science, we now measure history in molecules, and by that measure, Genghis Khan is one of the most enduring humans to ever live. He shaped borders, he built roads, he changed economies, but more than anything, he left behind a human footprint that can't be erased. The story of Genghis Khan's DNA is more than history. It's a warning about ambition, about legacy, and about what it really means to live forever. But Genghis Khan's genetic legacy also raises modern ethical questions. Should we celebrate a man whose DNA spread through so much suffering? Or should we confront what that spread says about how power operated in the past? Some geneticists argue that what we call success in terms of DNA might reflect the darkest parts of human history: rape, conquest, coercion. Our chromosomes can carry pride or pain. And yet, there's fascination. Genetic tourism is now a business. People travel to Mongolia hoping to connect with their supposed ancestry, even if they carry just a faint signal of the Khan. Mongolian identity itself has been rebranded around this legacy. Statues, museums, and national branding all draw from Genghis Khan's myth, part fact, part folklore, part marketing. Meanwhile, DNA testing companies use the story to sell curiosity. Find out if you're descended from Genghis Khan is a viral slogan, turning deep human history into a clickbait ancestry ad. It's a reminder that stories don't just live in books or labs. They live in markets and nation building and even in pop culture. Genghis Khan isn't just in our genes, he's in our headlines. This commodification of genetic history opens another question. Are we honoring the past or exploiting it? Is DNA a path to understanding or a product to sell? One thing is certain, the legacy of Genghis Khan won't fade. Not as long as science keeps finding new echoes in our cells, and not as long as humans keep searching for where we come from. If this story fascinated you, imagine how many other secrets are still hidden in our DNA, waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe for more stories where history meets biology. And don't forget to share this with someone who still thinks the past is dead, because sometimes the past is alive inside us.